So, have you ever been told that God can't use you for whatever reason because you're a woman, because you're old, because you're young, because you're a man, because you're black, because you're white, whatever reason? Have you ever been told that God can't use you? Well, that's a lie. It's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie. People will use the Bible to try to control you. That's why it's important to read the Bible for yourself. That's a lie. And we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to share with you 6 examples of people in the Bible that God used, even though they had checkered past. God still used them. Amen. But first, hello all. My name is Charlotte, and welcome to Chosen and Accepted. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to my channel. And I've been mentioning in my prior videos that I am transitioning to a faceless channel. It's a prayer channel. There will be some teaching. I will be moving some of my teachings over and have them recorded using AI and not my beautiful, lovely voice. So you will not hear my voice, at least not until I clone my voice. And then I may still post some stuff on there. But anyways, I'm transitioning to another channel. It is Chosen and Accepted Prayers. So please join me over there and let's continue this journey together and building our relationship with the Lord. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about, God using us. A lot of times we disqualify ourselves because of something that we've done. We have these secrets that we think nobody knows, and if people found out, they would be like, oh, I can't believe you did that. Guess what? You know what? The thing you think is such a secret that's so bad, I'm telling you, people have done 10 times worse. 10 times worse. Or you think, oh, because something has been done to you, oh, this has been done to me. Some people did this to me, they did that to me. God can't use me because this was done to me. But guess what? It was done, right? And Jesus said, it is done. It is finished. It's over. It's done. And it does not disqualify you from being used by God. So to get it out of your mind that God can't use you and put it in your mind that you can be used by nothing disqualifies you. If you're a believer, nothing can disqualify you from being used by God. So we are going to look at 6 people from the Bible, and I chose 6 people that most people should be familiar with. Even if you don't read the Bible, these names should sound familiar to you. Okay, so the first one is Moses. Moses was a murderer and an outlaw. You can read about Moses in Exodus. The story of Moses killing the Egyptian and hiding the Egyptian body in the sand. And then in fear, he ran away because someone saw him. He ran away into the desert. But guess what? God called Moses back. And God used Moses to deliver his people out of Egypt. Moses was a murderer, and God used him. God didn't hold that against him as far as using him, right? I'm not saying God was pleased with what he did, but God used him in spite of what he did to bring his people out of Egypt. The second person, Abraham. A lot of us know the story of Abraham. Abraham was a liar and he was a deceiver. Abraham's wife Sarah was very beautiful. And, when they would come across these foreign kings, he was always afraid that, his wife would be stolen and become a part of the king's harem. So he would always lie and say that Sarah was his sister, which was partially true because they had the same father, but they have different mothers. But so he told a partial truth in saying that Sarah was his sister, but the big truth was that Sarah was his wife and he should have been protecting his wife. But even though he was a coward, he was a liar, he was a deceiver, God still used Abraham and made him the father of many nations. The third person is David. Many of us know the story of David. God said that David was a man after his own heart. But David committed adultery with a married woman. David was at home when he should have been out in battle, and he saw Bathsheba taking a bath, and he wanted her, and he took her, and she got pregnant. And then he tried to bring her husband home so her husband would sleep with her and could claim the baby as his own. But her husband was an honorable man. And he was like, I'm not going to go and be with my wife when my people are out fighting. And so then David was left with, being found out. And so he had the husband killed in battle. But you know what? God still called him a man after his own heart because David repented of his deeds. He was a man after God's own heart, but he was also a man and he repented. So even though he committed adultery and he was A fornicator, God still used him. Amen. Then there's Rahab, number 4. Rahab was a prostitute. Yeah, she was a prostitute. Yeah, she lived a lifestyle that a lot of you would judge her for. Yeah, she was a prostitute. She lived in Jericho, but she protected the spies when they came to spy out the land. And guess what? Rahab, the prostitute, became the great 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 grandmother of David. Rahab is listed in the genealogy of Jesus. She was a prostitute, and God did not hold Rahab's profession against her and put her in Jesus's lineage. Yeah. Number 5, Peter. We know Peter denied Jesus. Peter was very outspoken. He was impulsive. You know, he was one of Jesus's 12 disciples. He was like the leader of the disciples. He was part of Jesus's inner circle. He boldly confessed that Jesus was the Messiah. But then, when Jesus had been picked up to be um, executed, sacrificed, Peter denied Jesus 3 times. That's in Matthew 26. Yeah, Peter denied Jesus 3. Jesus told him that he would, and he did. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, but guess what? On the day of Pentecost, Peter stood up and preached the gospel with boldness, and many were saved. You can read about that in Acts chapter 2. So Peter was, he was a coward, and some of you may be cowards or you may be closet Christians, don't want people to know. It's like Peter didn't want him when they were asking, aren't you one of them? And he was like, no, 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 I'm not one of them. So some of you may be closet Christians, but that doesn't mean that God cannot use you. Amen. And number 6, Paul. He was Saul of Tarsus at that time. He was persecuting believers. The Bible talks about this in Acts, the 8th chapter. He would go about everywhere destroying churches, and he would go into homes and drag out men and women and throw them in prison. And then Saul of Tarsus had an encounter with Jesus on the road to Damascus, and he became Apostle Paul after that encounter. And he wrote most of the New Testament. So even if you were, or if you know someone who is like the worst sinner in the world, guess what? An encounter with Jesus will change them. One encounter with Jesus, one road to Damascus encounter with Jesus will change them. So don't lose hope in people that you know that are you feel that they're just so lost that they'll never be found. Because some people can say that about Paul, that he was just so lost that he could never be found. Guess what? Jesus will find you on the road to Damascus. Amen. God used these men. Liars, murderers, adulterers, prostitutes, cowards, persecuted the Christian. It did not matter. God did not hold their sin against them. He did not hold their fault against them. He saw their great faith. He saw in these men, what other people didn't see. And God sees in you what people can't see. Men look at the outward, God looks at the heart. So God sees what's in you. And he's like, I can use that. I can use that stuff that happened to you that you're ashamed of. God's like, I can use that. I can use that, right? So it doesn't matter what you've done in your life. It doesn't matter what's been done to you. Doesn't matter your gender, whether you're male or female, your age, you're young or old, your color, the color of your skin. None of those things matter to God. God is not a respecter of person. Contrary to what people may want you to believe, God is not a respecter of person. We are all made, every last one of us, we are made in the image and likeness of God. On the outside, we may look different. The texture of our hair, the color of our skin may look different on the outside, but on the inside, we are all God's creation. And it's time we start seeing our brothers and sisters that way also. So God can use you. Ask the Lord to make you usable. Surrender your will to his will If that's what you want, it is what you ought to want. You want to live a life pleasing to the Lord. So just know that God can use you. Don't feel like you've done something to disqualify yourself because you haven't. You can never do anything to disqualify yourself from being used by God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And God can take, like Joyce Meyer says, God can take your mess and turn it into a message. He most certainly can. So rejoice, 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 because God can use you. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this helped you. And remember, you're chosen and accepted by God. And follow me on my new channel, Chosen Accepted Prayer. Love you all. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye.